part of me thought innocently that we were past all this. I thought that maybe time had gone by and people had thought better of it and we'd move on with our lives. But apparently that's not the case, and Alyssa Mercante has now sent an official cease and desist from her lawyer about how I need to apologize for things I've said to her because they're defamatory in nature. Which is interesting because everything I've said has been in response and using what she said to form my opinion and explain why I feel that way about her. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And this letter that was sent to me by her lawyer, Lane Haygood, who apparently doesn't even work at the council that he said he did when he sent this letter, which is another situation altogether, from Cameron, Anya, Soniker, and Klein, with his law firm that I looked into, where he was basically participating with them but not really under them, and he didn't even have his own law firm. But whatever, I talked about that in a previous video because this guy struck me as everything that an ambulance chaser lawyer would be, that would take literally any case that anyone brought to him, as long as he thought, hey, maybe I can make a buck or two off of this, so sure, I'll throw a letter out there. What could hurt? We'll send some scares to him, we'll make him admit in the guilt that he is not guilty of, and then maybe we can use that against him to push even further and try to get more. And something Alyssa clearly hasn't learned yet is her words and things she says and does can be and will be used against her in a court of law. And she really doesn't want to go down this road. I've had a couple weeks to process this letter, and I wasn't going to even give her the time of day or attention for it. But you know what? I thought better of that because I felt like I needed to address this situation and put it to rest once and for all. I'm not going to be bullied by her. I'm not going to be pushed around. I'm not going to let her try to use me as an exhibit to push her agenda and get people to think that what she's doing is the right thing. Because at the end of the day, all she is a cry bully. And this letter that was sent to me by her lawyer is so embarrassingly pathetic that I just couldn't help but laugh as I read through it. Here's the actual 5-page letter. 5-page letter they sent me. I'll go through it as fast as I can, and I'll make a follow-up video explaining more in detail, but I wanted to just make this overview video to give you all the information and let you have an idea of what I'm dealing with on my end right now. Regarding your defamation and harassment of our client, Alyssa Mercante. Jeff, we write to you today as counsel for Alyssa Mercante. You have made unlawfully harassing and or defamatory statements about Alyssa. No, I haven't. And you can't state that as fact when you haven't proven it in a court of law. But whatever. I can't stop at every sentence here because at the end of the day, this would be a 6-hour-long video. I'm going to go through it as best I can. We are writing to request that you voluntarily retract them and publish an apology, the language of which we will suggest to you before we pursue other legal avenues against you, which right there is a threat that they plan on taking more action against me if I don't remove statements and apologize to her because I hurt her feelings for using what she said against her. On or around March 30th, 2024, you tweeted horrification. What's that? Like what Alyssa Mercante does, sucking dicks in her off time for money? You then repeated that claim on April 1st, tweeting, how do I put this in a way you'd grasp? The Amigo was about as much fun as sucking 20 dicks in a row, but instead of being paid for it, I paid $10,000 to do it, in response to one of Alyssa's tweets. Notice how they don't say what Alyssa said, because then that would implicate her as egging me on trying to get a response, because her initial tweet on me there was making fun of my investment, so I figured, okay, that opened the doorway for me to make fun of her. But again, with Alyssa, that only goes one way. You then published a video on YouTube on April 4th, 2024, in which you stated, Alyssa Mercante has since come forward stating that she used to be a sex worker sucking dicks for money before working at Kotaku. You repeated this statement on YouTube on May 1st, 2024 and May 3rd on 2024, as well as on your website. Jeff, those statements are factually false. Are they? Because she said things herself that alluded to sucking dicks for money, which is which is where I got it from. How much research did you do before you wrote this letter, Mr. Lane Haywood lawyer? Jeff, those statements are factually false, and you knew they were false before you made them. No, no, I didn't, actually. Because of what she said, I assumed she was telling the truth. But again, if I stop every time, it's going to be forever. Alyssa has never come forward stating that she has engaged in the conduct you claim. There is a gulf between solo nude modeling and engaging in sexual acts for money. A gulf you were aware of when you made these statements. What? No. What? How? First off, how could you even know what I'm aware of and what I'm not? That's quite the gulf that you're making. You did not couch them in terms of possibility, but a definite fact within your knowledge. These statements are not mere insults, trash talk, or rhetoric hyperbole, such as would render them protected speech. Yeah, they were. You clearly intended these statements to be taken as literal fact, and a jury could easily find that a reasonable person of ordinary prudence would interpret them in that light. True, but when the jury sees the tweets of what she said and then compares them to what I responded with, how do you think the jury would feel about that? As you falsely claim Alyssa is the source of this information, which she is, it is facially obvious, they mean factually? Facially obvious that you made these statements knowing that they were false, as required to find actual malice under New York Times versus Sullivan, blah, 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 blah. Furthermore, because commenting on Alyssa and her work has proven so lucrative for you, so lucrative for me, there's been a lot of YouTubers commenting on Alyssa and her work, and many people and their work in the game industry. Kind of weird to be singling me out, almost like you're targeting me right now. Interesting. There is incentive for you to continually up the ante in your criticisms of her. I haven't talked about Alyssa in like a month. If I was making so much money talking about her, don't you think, based off of what you're saying here, that I would never stop talking about her if that was my goal? This doesn't make any sense. In your criticisms of her, while you could have left your statements at mere opinion and hyperbole, doing so would eventually lead to flagging esteem from your horde of fans. I have a horde of fans, like Alyssa doesn't, by the way, that get sent after me. This, again, road only goes one way. Therefore, as we have documented, your statements about Alyssa have increased in fervor and falsity, rising from what the First Amendment protects to unprotected speech. And in doing so, you have demonstrated that you will recklessly disregard good taste and the truth in an effort to provide the content that sustains your social media presence. This is the very definition of actual malice.
I am smart, hot, slutty.
So he's saying here that I've demonstrated that I'll recklessly disregard good taste in the truth. I don't know about you guys, but if you've been watching my channel for a while, I focus on the truth solely. That is the goal of what I talk about when I cover things. Someone coming from Kotaku who does not do that is very interesting to point at me and say that I'm not focusing on the truth. It's fascinating. Does Sweet Baby Inc. do what we think they do? Does Critivo really do what you think they do, Alyssa? If this matter were taken to court, there is a substantial possibility that Alyssa would prevail. Based off of what? Because I would say there is zero chance that she'd prevail in what you've stated so far, but whatever. Your statement constitutes defamation per se, both California law, New York law, blah, 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 all these other law things, such that Alyssa would not have to plead special damages for a court to find her claim had merit, because your statements both suggest that she has committed a crime and tend to injure her in her field of work by suggesting that she is unprofessional.
Come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
You really gonna go there, Lane? Do you know your client? In addition, you clearly have a financial motivation to continue to defame Alyssa. Since you made the first defamatory statement on March 30th, 2024, the average number of views on your YouTube videos have gone from 1 or 2,000 to tens or even hundreds of thousands of views each. Interesting. So my only reason why people watch my channel is because I covered Alyssa a couple times, and everything else I talk about has nothing to do with her, but because of her is why I'm making any views and getting people to subscribe to me. That's quite the leap, Lane. Courts have found that where a defendant has profited from a defamation, awards of punitive damages are appropriate. If this matter cannot be resolved amicably, and Alyssa is forced to, who's forcing her, is forced to proceed with litigation against you, we will not hesitate to seek punitive damages from you. Well, that almost sounds like a aggressive threat. We therefore demand that you remove all statements to the effect that Alyssa has sucked dicks for money or otherwise engaged in acts of sexual conduct for any kind of compensation or advantage, as well as issue a retraction and apology on every platform and in every medium where the original statement was published, including any not named in this letter, within 30 days of receipt of this letter. The retraction and apology must be of equal prominence and receive equal promotion as the original defamatory statements to the best of your ability. We suggest that your retraction include the statement. So they want an apology, and then they're telling me what to say in my apology, which is fascinating because that's not really an apology from the heart. It was wrong of me to suggest Alyssa Mercante has engaged in sexual conduct for money. I let my rhetoric get away from me, and I did so hoping to inflame you, my audience. I apologize for spreading lies about Alyssa and for doing so to manipulate you, my viewers. Look at how she's trying to make me sound like an evildoer. You may catalog and document these retractions and apologies to us via email. Failure to do so will result in Alyssa seeking enforcement of her rights in court. All right, Alyssa, good luck with that. So she's trying to make me look like a liar and trying to expose me and what I've said to my audience as a horrible person, and hopes to trying to take me down because she's lost any kind of credibility throughout this entire endeavor. So now she's going the legal route of trying to be like, oh, I'm going to make him say something and threaten him with a lawsuit. That'll really make him fail at life, and that'll be my first win to own the chuds. In addition to the defamatory statements above, your continual posting about Alyssa, particularly in conjunction with your campaign to end Kotaku, constitutes a knowing and willful discourse of conduct directed at a specific person that harasses the person and that serves no legitimate purpose, and therefore constitutes harassment under all these other things in the civil code. Which is interesting because this is coming from someone trying to threaten to sue me for contacting my wife and trying to create a hostile environment in my home world and trying to get us divorced by telling her how awful her husband is because she can't stand to see someone else successful. And they also say my continual posting about Alyssa, she's been talking about me nonstop. Even after sending this letter, she still posts about me, what feels like almost daily, which is just fascinating to me that this is so one-sided that this guy either is willfully ignorant to her client or knows what she's doing and is pretending that everything is perfectly fine on her side. You have published nearly 50 videos about Alyssa. Okay, so you have exact numbers up until this one, then you say nearly 50 videos about Alyssa, which I don't know what that's supposed to entail because I mention her when she comes up. I cover the video game industry and things that are wrong, things that are immoral, unethical, things that are problems in the industry that I'm trying to get fixed. And if she comes up, that's kind of on her. But that would take some accountability, which this is how she is accountable. Including one ironically titled, Alyssa Mercante is obsessed with me. Well, in the companion article to that video, by the same title on your website, you stated, the deliberate use of my full name, and it goes into everything that I said. I'm not going to read all that. That's on my website. Whether or not we agree that using a person's full name in a public posting is deliberately inciting harassment, you clearly believe that it is incitement, and that a person who engages in such a course of conduct must be held accountable, if not by the person's employees, then by the community at large. Not only have you used Alyssa's full name hundreds of times, you have encouraged your viewers to hold her accountable. Okay, so I've used her name hundreds of times because that's literally her name on Twitter. I feel like that's what she wants people to address her as. If she would like people to contact her and address her as a different name, she should probably go by a different name, which is what most people do on the internet to avoid that. Posted dozens of pictures of her, and even the pictures I've posted of her are the pictures she's posted of herself. And the pictures I'm posting are literally, oh God, I can't even with this. And even linked to a thread on Kiwi Farms, which hosts her full docs. Oh, okay, well, I linked to a thread on Kiwi Farms at one point, not knowing that there was a docs there. That's like saying you linked to Google and that her information is on Google. What? Do you even understand what this is, Lane? And because you yourself have stated that even just using someone's full name could lead to harassment, intimidation, and the pursuit of vendettas, it is clear that you made your statements with the intent to place the target of harassment in a reasonable fear for her safety or the safety of her family. So what she was doing to me. But when I call it out, I'm the bad guy for doing that. That is a wild rationale. That's impressive, Lane. You accuse Alyssa of trying to silence her critics. Yeah? But routinely encourage behavior that would lead to her not having a voice in the marketplace of ideas. How? She's free to say whatever the hell she wants to make a fool of herself, and continually does. And all I do is call that out. If that's me scaring her into not being in the marketplace of ideas, maybe she should take a different approach and rethink how she's approaching it, because she's doing this to herself, Lane. This is ironic, given that Alyssa's prominence and reach as a journalist is what has propelled your own career forward. As stated previously, a more cautious and judicious person would have confined his commentary on the subject to opinion, and perhaps vociferous and vulgar disagreement with Alyssa, which is everything that I've done up to that point. But away from these sorts of highly dramatic actions that constitute defamation and harassment, like contacting Alyssa's wife, oh wait, no, I added that part in because that's what she did to me. But away from these sorts of highly dramatic actions that constitute defamation and harassment, like cheering on when my website got taken down, oh wait, no, that's what she did to me. As you yourself stated, the internet is ruthless, which it is. Statement of fact, Lane. However you feel about our attempts to dissuade Kiwi Farms from... I am not Kiwi Farms. If you have an issue with Kiwi Farms, you need to take that up with them. From pursuing its own misguided course of action. Let us be clear. Any attempt by you to use this communication to drum up sympathy for yourself or to continue to harass Alyssa by exposing her to the ruthlessness of your audience, any statements by you that she should feel consequences of trying to silence you will be taken as intentional attempts to inflict emotional distress upon Alyssa and could expose you to further legal liability. Again, apparently this road only goes one way. Do you understand how much stress, strife, and frustration this has caused me and my own personal relationship and my own personal life? The struggles, frustrations, and loss of sleep that I've had from this letter, which I know Alyssa loves to hear that. But this in itself is an attack on me. You guys only look at this as a one-sided thing. It's like, nope, I am honest and truthful with my audience. They will see the truth. If you get harassed by that, I can't help you. That is something that you need to be accountable for. This is an action that you should not be taking on someone. And yes, there are consequences for that. And I think you should know this, Lane. A court of law would agree with that. This is an intentional attack on me and my brand, trying to make me apologize for things I said that she herself had produced to make me feel the way I did about her. How is that in any way my fault? Jeff, we are not asking that you never comment about Alyssa again. Yeah, you are. This is a way to try to silence me and scare me from doing anything. And one thing that Alyssa continues to fail to realize is nothing she does will shut me up. We are not asking that you never say mean things about her. Well, good. I'm going to keep doing that. Or that you never react negatively to something she writes. Good, because I'm always going to do that too. Or tweet that she makes a comment pejoratively about her. Okay, these are the things that I've done. And that's why there are, in your words, up to 50 videos about her. Tell her to stop being stupid, and I just won't cover her, and we can move on. That's how this works. That is not meant to silence you. It is meant to keep us from having to take you to court for the damages you cause. We are giving you an exit ramp. prudence counsels you take it. To that end, we are requesting that the same retraction and apology messages on your social media platforms contemplated above, you tell your listeners to tone down the rhetoric and avoid conduct and actions that directly target her, which is what I've always said. I've never said go after her and target her. If anything, I've said please do not harass her and target her. But as I've said, the internet is a very unforgiving place. And no matter what I say, people will take things into their own. And all I can tell them is don't do that. But when you do stuff like this, I have to talk about it. And if Alyssa were smart about this, she would communicate with me directly and try to resolve this amicably before going to you, instead of saying awful things in DMs to me, telling me all these swear words, awful things about how terrible of a person I am, contacting my wife, laughing about my website getting taken down, trying to get me canceled from San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, the list goes on and on with what she's done to me and how she's attacked me in my life personally. You do not want to open up this can of worms, Lane. By all means, you and your followers should publish videos, blogs, tweets, and every form of media message out there disagreeing with Alyssa and anything she writes. But do not direct that conduct at her. No harassing direct messages. Lane, did she tell you the direct messages that she sent to my wife? Or the ones she said to me? Because those aren't in here. No linking to private information, never done that. And certainly no encouraging others to take actions that reasonably make her feel threatened. Always tell people not to do that. Harassed, alarmed, or abused by your conduct. Yeah, don't go after her, but at the same time, let it be known this is who Alyssa Mercante is, everyone. Like you didn't know that already, though. In conclusion, this matter ends if you publish your retraction and apology as stated above, containing all the information we have requested here, and you promise to confine your future commentary on Alyssa to the strictly non-defamatory and non-harassing, which is exactly what they want to do. They want to get me in a position where I apologize for something that I don't believe I did anything wrong, and then they can use that against me in the future and saying, oh, you did it again, and you apologized, we warned you, you had your warning, now we actually have our evidence to take you to court. Not happening, Lane. If you do so, this matter ends here. It sounds like a threat. And we do not need to trouble each other anymore. If, on the other hand, you continue your flippancy and disregard of our more than reasonable requests, you will find out that there are legal consequences to saying unlawful things on the internet. We will pursue all legal remedies against you, from protective orders, injunctions, and lawsuits for defamation, harassment, invasion of privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and other torts in courts of competent jurisdiction. Once you have published your retractions, please send the links to the following email addresses. If you are sincere and your apologies and retractions meet the standards set out in this email, we will send you another letter acknowledging the receipt and sufficiency of the same. If they are not, we will give you one additional chance before we determine that your efforts are staving off future consequences, are insincere, and begin plans for filing suit. That sounds like a direct threat for, if I do not follow this demand letter, that you will be suing me. And if that's the case, I have no option but to take up legal counsel and countersue for everything you're coming after me with. And you really, again, Alyssa, I don't want to go down this road with you. I'm telling you, this is a bad idea for you. Don't know how else to say it. Jeff, you are a family man yourself. Imagine your family in this situation. The fuck does my family have to do with this? How dare you bring that into this letter? How unprofessional could you be as a lawyer to say that at the end of this, to make me feel guilt and make me feel bad and make me feel like I'm the one in the wrong? You are a piece of shit lawyer, and holy crap, if you guys do come after me with this, you will feel the wrath of hell. I will not stop, and I genuinely mean that. This is the dumbest thing I've ever had to deal with, and holy crap, Alyssa, you're even stupider than I gave you credit for initially. Anyways, if you guys want more information, I'm listing all this on my website. The letter that they told me not to show off, to expose how embarrassing of a human being this really is. And again, Alyssa, if you want to keep going with this, I'm ready to dance. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing. Smash,